What's going on, workforce? Brian here.
Chris here.
And today we actually have a whole twist, something unexpected, but at the same time very exciting. And it's a great time to sit down and talk about what we know about patch 5.4. The special site is updated and the artwork is phenomenal. That's the thing that just pops out immediately. Futures rewritten. Let's not waste any time. Let's jump into it. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. While you're at it, I see that I pulled up the stats and it shows 60% of you guys are not subscribed yet. So let us know what we can do to have you hit that button. But let's dive in, Chris. What stands out first? Like, what are you most excited about for patch 5.4?
I'm excited it's here. I'm excited we're back on a patch schedule.
Yeah.
Like we spent several expansions of this game saying, man, I wish they'd change it up. I wish they'd break the pace. I wish they would change what a patch includes. I wish they would surprise us. It looks like 5.4 might be a more traditional patch, and that might actually also be nice.
Yeah. So obviously the site says early December. So then what would be your guess as a release date? Like, are you going to change it from our original thought, or are we going to stick with the hard December 8th?
I think you said we were sticking with the 8th. The 8th still sounds good. Because the alternative Tuesday is the 1st, and that's very early. Like, that's the earliest of December.
And they could shoot for that, and then essentially, like sometime in the next week or two, say no, let's go ahead because we said early, we never committed.
Yeah, I think December 8th is a fair guess, but I'm sure they'll have that date locked down for us when we have our live letter next week on the 27th.
Do we have a special guest?
We do. We have Xandri joining us. We haven't quite worked out the logistics of that. I know all of us will be at least Zooming with our families around that time. So like making sure everybody is available. The one nice thing about covering a game based in Japan is I didn't look up the hours, but I assume it's something god awful. So I assume it's something that, like, I'll tell my family, it's like, unfortunately, I'm not going to be available from the hours of 3 a.m. to 6 a.m.
Oh, no.
If that was when you guys were planning on firing up Zoom to play a game of Yahtzee.
All right. So let's go ahead and dive through just the special site update. And the ultimate goal of this video is just to give you guys the heads up of what you can expect with this big patch as we barrel into the new year and 5.5. And so typically around this time we would have been having some more insight as to what we could expect with the next expansion. So there is still a bit of mystery now because there's always things that we can infer, but we're going to be going into the new year not knowing what what really is kind of being set or the name of it. But Futures Rewritten, it's going to deliver us the new main scenario quest, which is building off of obviously the story. However, if you're new and you've never experienced a 0.4 patch, this story is basically the start of the next expansion.
Right.
The 0.4 always gets us going, and you can see here, the twins, Alice and Alphino. Looks like something's going on. Do you have any thoughts here, or any expectation, or any kind of prediction?
No, I don't. I think that Bozja's probably tying us in. I assume we're going to go back and deal with some conflict there. I don't know how spoilery we were trying to be, but I assume what's going to happen is we left the previous expansion in a relatively unfinished state compared to this one.
Yes.
And I think that it'll be a good chance to go back. But the Futures Rewritten part tells me, like, I mean, we've had some weird stuff with space and time this expansion. So if we are, just from like a bigger zoomed out thing, if we are ever going to have Final Fantasy's main story kind of come to a close so that it can make way for a new chapter, either Brian calling for a new game or me just calling for it to kind of, take a new direction, this is a logical point for us to say something like, okay, the warrior of light, darkness, or whatever has completed its task sometime in either this expansion or next expansion, depending on how they want to interpret that. And it's time for us to kind of bring that to a close, and then our character would have a new conflict arise, because it kind of feels like a show that just keeps going. Like, it's a really good show, but at some point you're like, okay, guys, like, just resolve your initial problem. This can't be an endless journey of things getting in your way. Like, even the Lord of the Rings, for being 9 million hours long, does come to an end. And so I think that you know, at some point this story will have to wrap up. And so if this is starting to lay the groundwork for that, that would be a direction I wouldn't mind the game going.
One of the things that I'll say, and I don't think this is spoilery at all, is that at the end, the twins are talking kind of about how everybody's somewhat evolved and they haven't. In terms of jobs, like we've got everybody kind of changing their base job in Shadowbringers, but for Alpha No and Alizé, they haven't. And I'm wondering if we're going to start to get some hints at maybe some jobs in 6.0 that maybe relate to them in a way. I don't. It was a subtle little tip of the hat, or maybe a little nod, and
that
has
makes sense.
It has me personally excited. So I don't think it's spoilery. I just think it's going to be interesting because sometimes throughout the story they kind of tease the jobs, and Yoshi P likes to put in some red herrings out there to be like, oh, I think it's going to be this, and he's like, bah, you fools! I decided we were going in this direction the whole time. Now the other piece of artwork we've got here, as you can see, this was Yoshi P revealed this from the live letter. You could see obviously the Vanu Vanu. You could see Emmerich. You could see everybody here. It looks like they're in Ishguard. So hopefully Ishguard's going to be a big part of the story. Personally speaking, Ishguard means a lot to me, both from as a 1.0 player and into Heavensward. So it is actually a city of significance in my mind. And so with the rebuilding of Ishguard, maybe there's going to be some connection that we see there. All right. The patch artwork really focuses in on Eden, right? This is going to be the final chapter of Eden, the final chapter that closes out that raid storyline. Personally speaking, I'm really interested to see what happens with the next patch and how we wrap up the Yohora, like the near raid piece. Because I just haven't really connected to that story. It just feels so out of place. But Eden, in contradiction, feels so rooted into the lore and the world of the first, and the patch artwork really reflects that greatly with both of them holding hands and going forward from there. So let's go ahead and dive in. So you have got like just the artwork. It looks like Gaia is about to eat an aetheryte. Like I don't know how to otherwise interpret this. But she's such an interesting...
Maybe somebody lost an earring.
Or it could be an earring. Oh, an XP earring.
Has anybody lost this? Has anybody misplaced this? Eden's Promise is about the lost and found of the first. Seems like somebody might have misplaced this aetheryte.
Well, let's go ahead. I'll just read it to you guys. So it says, Reen and her mysterious counterpart Gaia have succeeded in restoring balance to the elements of the empty. Much of the credit goes to the warrior light, whom they invite to observe whenever life continues to flourish in the once barren desert. While the flame of hope burns brighter than ever, this tale is far from over. And I'm really kind of curious to see how this goes. The other part of this is, if you guys don't remember, because it's been almost, it feels like 9 months, 10 months since we've had the last chapter introduced, is it ends with obviously with everybody basically kind of hinting that we're going back to the source. So all the characters that have been a part of the story outside of Reen and Gaia are traveling back and aren't going to be a part of this final chapter. I'm just I can't wait to see where this goes, because we fought all these primals already, the first re-envision of them. Do you have any hopes, Chris, of what we can expect, or is there anything that you would personally like to see as a part of this final chapter in the raid?
I think I might be slowly realizing I'm an Ascian, so I would like to see that everything we did on the first, that some aspect of that maybe had a ripple on the source we didn't intend.
Okay.
So I wouldn't mind some portion of the conflict, if there is going to be kind of 2 stories in the next expansion. I wouldn't mind there being some level of conflict where it's like, okay, you took this once desert and you destroyed these, you went and fought all these primals and like breathed all this life into an area, but like that comes at a cost. Like you can't just make that much of an environmental change and it not impact other iterations, like and so if that drew something from the source, and so we kind of now we have to go off and fight some devastation that we've begun causing. I don't think there's any lore to back that up. I don't think there's anything to say that's what's going to happen. That's just like me wishing on a star there that it would be really nice to have some conflict, that it's not as simple as going over here and tying up an entire basically dimension of space and time in a neat little bow and then just popping back. Like it would be nice to see like a manifested set of damage from coming over here, because I think the Asians aren't just trying to destroy things, right? They had a beautiful vision of the end goal, and then the means was just how they were going to get there. And
Yeah, they had
draw conflict with them.
And then one of the beautiful things about their story is that, from how they're immortal and how they've been doing this for so long, is clearly to see how they lost connection with humanity. Because at first it sounds like they were obviously trying to go about it in different ways, and then at some point you're like, we've buried thousands and thousands and thousands of years of history. F it, let's just, we're getting serious, we're tired of this, etc. And ultimately, I think leads to their downfall. Who knows? We'll find out in the coming patches. But the other side that we got here, so I love what you think in there, because it's like that'll be interesting to see if
I don't think there's any basis in it.
Right. Well, no, but there's still that connection. Like, we are a bridge to the source and to the first, and I can't wait. At some point in my mind, I feel like that has to be resolved, but we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. The thing that we do know from the dungeon perspective, we get our one dungeon now, and
so many books.
So many books. Matoya's Relict, the Maker's Quarter, is once home to some of the finest crafters Eorza has ever seen, but it was lain in forgotten ruins since the Charlayan Exodus. It is there, hidden amongst the overgrown foliage, that the entrance to the former workshop of the Archon Matoya can be found. And this artwork looks great. We actually have two different images here. Let me just pull these up here real quick. Oh, the ghost. Have you seen the image with the ghost? It's the second one. Like, this is great. I love the boss designs. I love the enemy designs and what they have ready for us to display. And when they showed us the artwork from the first live letter, I'm really excited to see how this dungeon plays out. I at the end of the day, like, as we've been talking about a little bit about WoW, and I'm really excited about checking out M+, I still am going to hope for something like that within 14, because I think 14 has some marvelous dungeons, and I think they keep just getting, having some great ones introduced. Any hopes for the dungeon itself? Because honestly, right now, I just do the dungeons a handful of times and then say, thanks.
Yeah. I mean, as beautiful as the dungeons have been this expansion, I haven't felt like an overwhelming desire to run them 9,000 times. And that might be because historically they were a big source of our repeatable content. They were a big source of tomes and things like that. And that's what you were focused on. But this expansion, you've had your pick of beast tribes and raids that are way different than anything we've done before. And Bozja's this whole world to go take on, and there's just been a lot of content with Shadowbringers that kind of scatters us, as opposed to maybe expansions where it's traditionally like you hit cap and then you run dungeons every day, which was more of the identity of the game in the past than it is now.
And that's not saying that's a bad thing, that it's offering more things to more
things
players.
Change.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, at least in terms of the content that they're highlighting today, the Sorrows Are Lit. This is essentially the weapons series. We have vanquished the Sapphire weapon. We didn't have a weapon fight in 5.3 because that typically is the story final fight, and that's what we got. So in 5.4, you can expect another weapon to be fought, as to which one it is, and then in 5.5 we should have the final weapon to fight in the series, which will be really great to see. I love the connection to 7. The story and the villain, at least the main antagonist, is a part of the Sorrows Were Lit. That guy's freaky.
I really like the deeper look into Sid's history that it allows for. I really appreciate that. I wouldn't mind having like whole stories that give us just a deep. I wouldn't mind like let's go pick Yustola and let's just have a whole thread that just explores her throughout the next expansion, especially when you talk about the aging of the game and how, like, as new players come in and the game gets bigger and bigger, you may have more and more people encouraged to kind of do a skip into current content and then go back and enjoy the game through New Game Plus.
Yeah.
Well, if you think of it like that, they come in and they get this initial serving of content, and then they want to go back up to the buffet and they want to take very specific dishes based on what they feel they're missing. And stories like the Sorrows Were Lit is something that somebody can go, can you tell me more about Sid? I can tell you more about Sid. Why don't you go pick up the Sorrows Were Lit quest line and go finish that? It's a lot of fun. There's some fun fights in there, and that'll give you a big glimpse into Sid. And so, like, having these little pieces kind of set, I think they'll age really well, and it'll be neat to see how this one wraps up.
So, as far as it goes, like that's just kind of what they've highlighted with some artwork, but they've also got the bullet point list of what else we can expect. So we basically just covered the first part of this list. There is so much in this patch that I'm really excited about. So obviously we're going to get more relic quests. They have Save the Queen, Pass to Rest. This is going to be the expansion. Expect this sometime in 2021 in terms of the next, kind of the next level for the relic weapons. This usually comes around the 0.5, the 0.45 in this case for this next step, but they could always surprise us by bringing in things a little bit earlier. They have the new large-scale battle, the Delirium Renegade. This is essentially the Baldician Arsenal piece of content that's being brought in with 5.4. So I'm really excited to see this content, see how it plays out. We're also getting Blue Mage update. This is going to be interesting because, yes, and that means unless they decide to have some kind of crazy rule, Eureka. And
61.
The only thing I still stand by it. I wish that I know from a narrative perspective they really honor that, but I really wish that the whole current exploration, I don't even know why I'm drawing a blank on it mentally, but I wish it was like 50 plus or something like that, because 71, it just is like, man, it's so much fun. You level up like insanely fast in it, but it is what it is. More Ishguardian restorations.
That has got to be coming to a close. We are running out of expansion. Like, the runway is coming up quick.
I think that we'll probably see that open up with maybe 6.0. I don't know, with some housing.
Do we get new housing this expansion in?
I don't know. That would be that'd be a cool kind of thing for 5.5. Like where all of a sudden it's like, hey, here's all this like new housing.
And is it instanced housing?
I don't think so. I think it's going to be the same housing system that we've got. That's just, I wish it was. I want them to fix it in a way that, but
if there was ever a time to do it.
If there was ever time. A new Unreal Trial. This means Shiva is going away, and we're going to be getting.
If you haven't gotten around to it.
If you haven't gotten around to it, they'll have a new. I hope that as they introduce these Unreal Trials, eventually they get to be more on a rotator as opposed to a patch cycle. Because the patch cycle,
one new one old one.
Yeah, something like that.
Once you have a stable of old ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like looping back.
And then maybe go into the dungeons and bring the Unreal kind of concept to the dungeons itself. More Sky Skill tools, treasure hunt update, ocean fishing update, the fishing raids. I'm looking forward to getting back into that.
They're going to keep adding routes to those, so it's nice to see that come through.
Triple tryout update, Domin Mahjong update, Explorer mode, which is that where we can go back into the dungeons, take pictures, performance update, and new game plus update plus more content. I think 5.4 is going to be an excellent patch. For those of you who have been looking for something to do within the game, here's the kicker though. If we are right, it is the 8th. Unless they delay Cyberpunk as well, we're going to have a couple days to consume this, and then I'm pretty sure I'm going to be kind of knee deep in Cyberpunk.
Basically, November 23rd, you'll go into World of Warcraft. The raid to World of Warcraft, I think, drops December 8th. So you'll get yourself all geared up just so you can just knock out the raid. But for those of you just looking to do the LFR difficulty, that's usually like a few weeks late. So you'll have till probably the 22nd. And then you will get all of an entire expansion cleared in like a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Then you'll get this expansion and you will blast through 2 days of this hard. Which we've cleared patches in last to get you guys the guides, but this is meant to last a long time, so you don't have to blast through the whole thing. But we have done it. You can do it. And then you'll go into Cyberpunk on the 10th. And then once you're done with Cyberpunk, you come back to this and you start knocking out all the things here that are going to be more repeatable. Things you want to do more than once. Deliver the Baldician Arsenal stuff, coming back and clearing up relic stuff, fighting the trial a bunch more times. Like, assuming those are the only 3 games you play, you still have an incredibly busy next several weeks. And there are other games coming out right now that it's just all of the fall delays got pushed into the winter delays, and then the winter delays are coming out on time, and it's a lot. So it's exciting to see 14 toss their hat in the ring. There's a lot to do here.
So guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you did, let us know what you're thinking about the patch. Are you excited? Are you on a break? Are you thinking about returning with 5.4? Like any and all, like welcome in the below as this open forum continues these discussions, guys. As we build up, obviously Chris doesn't have the wheel behind him. We already have a couple of conversations queued up for that. We will get to those as soon as we can. But keep those suggestions and topics coming. I really appreciate all of that. We've got a lot coming. Hopefully you guys join us live on the 27th here on YouTube and on Twitch, where we do and go react and cover the live letter 454, and then we build into the next year. So I'm really excited. We missed the Halloween event because of all the COVID stuff. I'm looking forward to the Christmas event this year, and hopefully we get them out. I love when they do that. I still love my Christmas bear, and hopefully we see some cool Christmas stuff coming with Final Fantasy XIV. Chris, do you have any thoughts or anything you want to share before we wrap up today's show?
No, we're starting to stream a little more. So we got a couple of long streams this week. I know that I've got some family related events that are going to make setting aside huge chunks of time really hard over the next week. So I hope to stream probably, my family I think is going to celebrate a little early. So probably the 25th. So going into the patch, I would love to going into the live letter, I would love to get back and finish off my Black Mage. And so hopefully you guys can come hang out, and we'll do lots of streaming. We're doing lots more streaming now.
All right. Hopefully you guys check it out. Links are in the description if you need them. And for Work to Game, my name's Brian.
My name's Chris.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon in patch 5.4.
All right. Take care.
This video is sponsored by me, Ginger Prime. Hopefully you'll check out my podcast channel, Ginger Gaming Radio, which we have lots of guests, lots of great conversations, and even more highlights. Links are in the description below. Let me know what you think. Thanks.